That housing recovery looking more real. Details from our Diana Olick right now. Diana?
That's right, Bill. Strong numbers on home prices and okay numbers on sales of newly built homes. We'll go first to the builders. Take a look. New home sales fell 4.6% in February, month to month, after a big jump in January that was revised down slightly. Now, these numbers tend to be volatile month to month. So if you go by a 3-month average, sales are up slightly in the Midwest and South, up a lot in the West, and they haven't really moved much in the Northeast. The West is where you're seeing really low supplies of existing homes thanks to all those investors. Prices rose over 2% for new builds, which are more expensive than existing homes. Now, speaking of prices, the latest read on the S&P Case-Shiller Index for January, and this is a 3-month running average, it shows prices up just over 8% year over year in the nation's top 20 markets. This is the biggest annual increase since 2006 when the housing bubble burst. Phoenix, Las Vegas, and San Francisco are seeing the big gains thanks to very low supply. And New York finally saw prices gain after seeing 28 months of negative annual returns. And I'm talking about the New York metro area, not Manhattan, which is its own animal. And Sue, I know we're going to talk about that now.
Indeed we are. So stay with us, Diana, and we're going to drill down into what actually is going on in New York's very unique real estate market.
And joining us is the woman who knows all about that, one of the top agents in New York City, Dolly, Lenz, of Prudential Douglas Elliman, and our own wealth editor, Robert Frank, who follows the wheeling and dealing of the rich, who is also with us here. Dolly, we were joking earlier. We said New York real estate is back. It never left, did it?
No, it never really left. I mean, the absorption was off for a bit. Pricing, though, never left. Pricing held really high and continues to hold and doing even better. It's amazing.
Because demand is that strong or supply is that constrained right now?
It's a mix, but it's primarily demand because we have the unique position of having incredible demand from all over the world.
Yeah.
We're not a local market. So, and that tells our story.
And that leads us to Robert, because Robert, this is one of your many beats, the wealth beat. And how much of the demand is domestic, and how much of it do you think, in terms of the big sales, has been from foreign buyers?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that foreign buyers have become a big presence in New York, particularly at the very high end with a lot of Russians. But Dolly, I wonder, the big discussion in Manhattan is about inventory and the lack of very high-quality trophy properties. When you take into account, Dolly, the whisper listings, those listings that aren't official but that are on the market, what does inventory really look like at the top end?
I mean, we're short on inventory versus a norm, but we're not that short. With the whisper listings, we're okay. I mean, if you really are serious and you have $30 or $40 million to buy a property, we can find you one.
What's a whisper listing?
That's good to know.
Give us an example. What's a whisper listing? What are you talking about?
Okay, you have a seller in a fancy Fifth Avenue co-op, an entire floor, who says, you know what, if you got me $50 million, I would sell my apartment, show it to very qualified people only, let me know in advance, and see if we could do a deal quietly. He doesn't want to see it on a multiple listing service. He doesn't want to see it anywhere posted, advertised.
Where are you going to go to find those buyers? You going to Asia?
You have to go to Dolly. That's where you have to go.
Well, you go to Dolly. I got that.
But guys, what about the foreign buyers, Dolly? I want to know if the same thing is going to happen in Manhattan that people are worried about in Miami. I mean, we just came back from South Beach, where you see condos going up all over the place with all this foreign money coming in and investors.
Again?
The same money that you see going into Manhattan, and a lot of people are concerned that if rents start to come down or something changes internationally, that these buyers are going to be quick to pull out, and you're going to have a glut of properties on the market again. Is Manhattan like Miami?
That's a big risk in Miami for sure, because I saw all the cranes as well, and I toured all the buildings. I think in New York it's a little bit less of a concern, but there are pockets that are already slightly saturated. So yeah, it is a tricky balance.
But to Bill's question a few moments ago, when you have the trophy properties, where are you going to get those buyers? Now, the Russians have their issues in Cyprus right now. Yeah. So I don't know whether they are as big a factor, or is it China or
Europeans, because these are co-ops, so they probably we wouldn't be welcoming necessarily all the foreign buyers. So it's going to be someone in California. It's going to be someone in Paris. It's going to be somebody in London. We go to London for a lot. You'd be surprised how many people in London have New York residences as well.
How the impact Wall Street has had on New York real estate. I mean, obviously, this is the financial capital. We still like to think of it as such. That took a hit, though, didn't it?
It took a hit, but look, with the Dow where it is, right, everybody feels wealthier. Whether or not they actually are, they feel that way. And when they feel wealthier, that irrational exuberance passes on.
But I'm talking about the jobs that were lost lost as a result of the financial crisis and the impact that had on the real estate market here.
Employment's a problem, but that's not a problem in the $30, $40 million stratosphere. That's a problem in the 1, 2, 3 housing formation stratosphere.
So take us to that level then, because one of the debates that we had earlier in the first hour, I think it was the first hour of Closing Bell, was the availability of credit and the availability of loans. Now, people in other parts of the country are going to find this crazy, but if you have a couple $1 million to spend in Manhattan, you usually don't get that much space these days. So, and you usually have a mortgage. How easy is it for people to get a mortgage these days?
It's a little bit easier now than it has been, let's say, last quarter, but not that much easier. We still have to go through a lot of hoops to get someone a mortgage, even where they're super qualified. And then we have to keep that mortgage going until the closing day. We've actually had mortgages pulled a week before closing for some reason. You know, document wasn't signed, they didn't get something from the managing agent. I mean, all kinds of arbitrary reasons. So it's really a process of keeping them in that game until the very end, over the finish line.
And are appraisals coming in at the...
No, they're not. Appraisals are still a problem.
They're still a problem,
but better. In Manhattan, particularly better.
Very interesting.
It's a one-of-a-kind market, and she's the one-of-a-kind broker. Good to see you, Dolly. Thank you. Robert, always good to see you. Thank you, Diana.
Sure.
See you later.
Breaking news on small cap stocks. Log me in. Josh Lipton has the details for us. Hey, Josh.
Hey, there's